Hey guys, what's going on? I hope you're doing well. This video is mainly going to be useful for individuals that are selling in this market right now. However, if you are a buyer, you might still find tidbits of information still useful. So do stick around. I'm just noticing a lot of listings that are sitting on the market, just accumulating the days on market, which is a stat that can be detrimental for sellers. The information and strategies that are discussed in this video are mainly based on my own experiences on things that have worked for me in the past as a realtor and have led to success. I'm just passing on the knowledge to help empower you, the consumer, with your decision making. If you have any family or friends that might also benefit from this video, feel free to share. In terms of a market update, I'm not gonna bore you with stats and numbers, but it has been a rough year for both sellers and for buyers. Now, there are two key principles of human psychology and marketing that I want to discuss with you before we dive in: decision fatigue and buyer's remorse. In marketing, decision fatigue occurs when there's too many options to choose from, oftentimes leading to overwhelm, which is essentially your brain getting tired of making any sort of decision. To give you an example, this is why brands like In-N-Out do particularly so well, because there's so few options available on their menu. You can choose a hamburger, a cheeseburger, or a double-double. Whereas we also have experience going to an ice cream shop with 150 different varieties. It's oftentimes harder to make a choice of 2 or 3 flavors. The second principle, buyer's remorse, is the feeling of regret that a purchaser feels after they've made a purchase, oftentimes due to second guessing their decision or realizing that the product that they purchased doesn't quite meet the standards or their expectations. Other thing I wanted to mention about buyer's remorse that's really interesting is that it tends to be higher when the number of options that you can choose from are also higher. In the context of real estate, to give you an example, a buyer is more likely to be unhappy with their choice if they had 20 options versus had 3 to choose from. In marketing, we have to try and navigate these two by reducing decision fatigue, either by limiting the amount of choices that are available or really making sure that a product stands out as a no-brainer. Meanwhile, reducing buyer's remorse involves providing very clear value. Why is all of this important for sellers? Because understanding these basics, you at least understand the rules of the game. These strategies won't guarantee a sale, however, they will enhance your chances of selling your beautiful home to the right buyer that is looking. Now, let's jump into the actionable strategies. So first off, when you're starting to think about selling, you need to gain an understanding of the market. Ask your realtor for some basic stats. Is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? Ask about average days on market. This will help set your expectation. 2, figure out your goal. Why is it that you are selling? Are you upsizing because you have a new family member on the way? Or are you downsizing because you're an empty nester and no longer need a big house? And why is it so important that you do this now? Share this information with your professional because it will help them understand your timeline a little bit better. So now that you have a better understanding of the market and you also understand that it is a buyer's market and buyers have the negotiation power, and you also understand that you have to sell in the next 3 to 4 months, you need to price your home strategically. I like to provide my clients with 3 pricing strategies. Approach 1 is the aggressive approach, which means listing the home slightly below market value so that we compete with everything else that is currently available. Approach number 2 is a market approach, which means that we list a home at the exact current market value. A third strategy is a patient approach. This is when you list slightly above market value to test the market. Unfortunately, this last strategy doesn't work in a buyer's market. This could make sense in a seller's market when prices are on their way up. However, in a market like today's, it doesn't really make sense. These homes sit on the market, they contribute to decision fatigue for the buyers, and they actually never sell. Now, there is a fourth strategy, and that is the multiple offer strategy, which means listing a home substantially below market value and holding offers in the hopes that the open houses are going to be busy enough to generate the momentum for at least 2 to 3 offers to come in. That way you can have a bidding war. However, I have personally and recently witnessed individuals take this approach and it kind of backfires. They don't really receive any offers, or they only receive the one. This multiple offer strategy can also be quite risky for sellers, so make sure you talk to your realtor and discuss those risks with them clearly. This works when it works, but in a market like today, I personally don't recommend the multiple offer strategy. Talk to your professional so that you understand the risks better. Advertisements. These are a waste of money. The MLS, the multiple listings system, is the best form of advertisement. As realtors, we pay for this system through our board fees, and it's actually the most widely used system between buyers and sellers. In the past, my sellers have asked me to run advertisements for a listing that just went live on social media, such as Facebook or Instagram, but these don't really work. They just signal to the buyers that these sellers are desperate to sell. The other thing is, buyers don't typically go on Instagram or Facebook when they're thinking about making a purchase of a home. So other than raising awareness, it doesn't do a whole lot. The MLS system, on the other hand, is automatically set up to email buyers who are looking for exactly what you have to sell. The moment a new listing hits the market, we'll give them all of the information for the listing, if there's a price reduction, if there's open houses scheduled, and even if it's sold, buyers will get notified via the system. Keep it simple, stupid. So that covers the list of things that you should not do when you're selling your home. Don't overprice your home when listing it just to test the market. On the other hand, you don't want to price your home way below market value to entertain multiple offers, and don't run ads. They are effectively a waste of money. Again, these are based on my own experiences. I come from an extensive marketing background, so I know a thing or two about marketing. Now let's cover more fun list on things that you should do as a seller when you're motivated to sell. First off, minor renovations go a long way. For example, a fresh coat of paint does absolute wonders. I am the realtor that hosts your open houses. Get to hear and listen to what buyers have to say. It smells so fresh in here, it smells so clean. My dad owns a painting company, and back in university days, I used to help him out with various jobs. It's been a while, but to give you a very rough estimate, a 3,000 square foot home, it would cost around $8,000 to repaint it. Oftentimes, the return on a paint job is double. So if you spend $5,000, you can expect to get $10,000 back when you're selling your home. Just one example: changing the floors, altering the kitchen, doing some landscaping in the front and the backyard. Things increase curb appeal and will also contribute to you selling easier. Unless you have an interior design background or are working with an interior designer, or you generally suffer from good taste, I don't recommend that you choose the colors by yourself. Talk to your professional and get them to help you with choosing what colors would go great. Using neutral color. Post a table in this video, a screenshot of it for colors that are minimal and very neutral. Actually, this is a really great question for ChatGPT if you've ever used AI. Give them some descriptions about the room. Say, it's for a dining room. It's facing east, because it is important to know how the light will affect that room. And then you can say, could you give me some ideas on timeless colors that I can choose for this specific room? Just make sure you use that adjective timeless, because the colors that it will give you will be colors that you won't become bored of. Again, we learned this the hard way because my dad has a painting company. My mom oftentimes wanted to change the interior color of our family home, and we learned through trial and error that orange, for example, is not a very timeless color. 1 month in, and you start to dread coming home to an orange accent wall. A turquoise bathroom, same thing. These colors come into style very quickly and become super tacky. So make sure you choose some timeless colors that are there to stick around. Now, I've asked ChatGPT for some suggestions on timeless wall colors, and ChatGPT says timeless wall colors include neutrals like various shades of white, beige, warm, taupe, and gray, as well as classic colors such as sage green, navy blue, dusty blue, and even a deep charcoal gray. And I actually totally agree with ChatGPT. Dusty blue / grayish, that color is very timeless. That will stay relevant for as long as time. Next, professional cleaning. Hire cleaners to clean your home before doing photos, video, and certainly before doing open houses. Professional cleaning is a part of my services I like to provide to clients, but whether your realtor pays for it or not, it's very important that you do it. Let me tell you something that's gonna be harder to hear. Your definition of clean and decluttered is probably wrong. Not your fault, we all fall trapped to this. First move into a place and it's super clean and decluttered. Before we know it, a couple of years pass, a dog enters the photo, a child enters the photo, and we become super desensitized to how cluttered a space actually is. Only outsiders can really tell the difference, and this is why it's such a good idea to rely on family and friends to tell you the truth. Just hire professional cleaners to do the job, it'll make things so much easier. Why is cleaning so important? Because you want to give a good first impression to individuals who come to the home during an open house. Next, keep your home odor-free. Again, this is one of those keep it simple, stupid rules. Here's a fun fact. Odorless homes sell for 20 to 30% more than their scented competition. And they sell faster too. On average, 30% faster. Cheap IKEA candles and room spray. Maybe go a little bit easier on the cinnamon in those cookies that you're baking before the open house. When in doubt, keep it odorless. When there is an odor in the home because you fried bacon in the morning of an open house, which you should never do, just open up all the doors and windows and make sure you air it out. Feel free to run a soft candle. Some good brands that I like to use are Diptyque, Fortin Company, Provence in Color. Candles with some really ideal scents, very soft. Next, staging. Fun fact is that staged homes actually sell 30 to 50% quicker than their unstaged counterpart. If you're selling, for example, an investment home that is absolutely vacant, consider staging the home. On the other hand, let's say you live in a big home with lots of furniture. Some stagers will come in and help you declutter the space so that it looks a little bit less full. Now, the staging cost can range depending on how large a space you need to be staged. If you're staging a big home, you don't need to stage the whole space. Maybe the living room, the family room, the dining room, the kitchen, maybe one or two of the main bedrooms upstairs. Everything else you can kind of leave as is. Outdoor furniture would be nice too, especially if you live in an area where outdoor space is coveted. On average, to give you an example, 2-bed, 2-bath can be staged anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000, and you need to keep the staging for another month. These stagers will just charge you another fixed fee that's around $500. Every stager is different. Talk to your professional for connections with stagers and choose if it's right for you or not. If you choose not to stage your home, you can stage your photos virtually. Typically costs around $35 per photo. It helps people who view your home online to get an idea of what the space can fit. Personally, don't really like virtually staged photos. However, staged photos can be useful. They should just be used in moderation. Now, to summarize all the do's for sellers, minor renovations go a long way. Professionally clean your home before listing. Keep things odorless or as odorless as possible. Look into staging your home. They will sell much faster and they will really stand out as no-brainers to buyers. Going back to decision fatigue and buyer's remorse and how this list of do's and don'ts affect these. By following these simple steps, you're going to make decision making a lot easier for the buyer. No longer comparing apples to apples, your product really stands out as a no-brainer. Now, in terms of buyer's remorse, there isn't much that you can do, but making sure that it's substantially cleaned and taken care of right up until completion and possession day. It feels really good to pass on the keys to a product that you loved and you took care of. Everyone benefits from this and results in happy humans on both sides. I hope this was helpful for you, and good luck to you selling out there.